I mean, all the time, when I'd been shot down, I was wandering around places like, you know, small places. Then even I was in Paris for quite a while. People are people the world over. Really.
You were in Paris during the occupation.
You were in Paris just the other day.
Were you in Paris during the occupation by the Germans?
Oh, yes.
Did you have any fear, like here you were Canadian, but you were Jewish. Did you have any fear that your Jewish identity would be discovered?
Of course. That was the key to the whole thing. And no matter where you went, you go to the movies, you know, they would have a lot of propaganda about people who were Jewish. And of course, it was a great fear.
Well, what were you doing in Paris at the time? Were you still with the French underground when you were there?
Yes, oh yes. They were in the process of trying to get me out.
Did they know you were Jewish?
Oh yes, indeed.
This has been very scary.
Oh, of course it's scary, but you can't let the situation overcome everything else. You have to play your cards right, but I don't take credit for it because we had some very clever and brave people at the top levels advising us on these things.
How did you get out, and where did they try to get you out of France?
Yes.
How did they do that?
Well, I finally got out of France by going down to I finally walked over the Pyrenees with another group. We had great groups. Most people think of climbing over the mountains all by yourself. That would be almost impossible. But we assembled just outside of Paris one night, and we're a real mixture of people. Some people had been with the underground, some people had been with the what's the other damn thing they have? And the assortments of people with different backgrounds all met to take a hike over the Pyrenees. It was quite a thing. And you usually had a guide, and he was a very highly trained guide. Our guide deserted us. He was so loyal. And it was the funniest thing. And we had disputes between members of our group as to what was going to happen. I remember we were in a cave in France, and we were in a real dilemma. A big storm had come up, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And it was a mixed decision. Some people wanted to stay. Some people thought the worst thing in the world that could happen to you was not to be caught. Different human beings are odd.
Were you the only Jew in your group?
That I knew of. But this wasn't the subject we got talking about because we had other more immediate matters. It's strange how one of our principal goals was not to get caught.
That's right.
Yeah.
And whether you were Jewish or not Jewish didn't seem to be the focus.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Sounds reasonable to me. That's not your plane over there, is it?
This one here?
Yeah.
No, but that is like one of my planes. That's one type I flew. Yeah.
Wait, can I just go back? Excuse me. When you got over the Pyrenees into Spain, you got into Spain? Is that where you ended up?
Yes.
And Spain was what, neutral in those days?
Oh, Spain was one of those crazy countries with Franco, you know.
Right. So that was still danger.
That was still dangerous.
So then how did...
I always thought there was more possibility of being picked up in Spain than any place I was ever at or in. And in Spain was one of the few places where I was stopped by police. They actually stopped and asked me for my papers, and this had never happened in France. It symbolized the personalities. The French are very,
Laissez-faire.
yeah, laissez-faire. We had another word, Italian, Maltese, I think it was called. Anyway, they floated along with anything. But it's hard to describe.
So in Spain, how long were you in Spain for?
Well, I finally got to the British consulate in Spain, and they were an immense help. Of course, they had everything under control. They were amazing people. In fact, you'd be happy to know that it was a woman agent who was in charge of the outfit in Spain. She's a wizard. She knew the Germans inside out. She would tell us when we went. I went down to surrender to the Spanish authorities. And we cooked up a story. And it seemed to go over. I went down to the chief of police, and I think it was, God, I can't even remember what city it was in.
Oh, Barcelona.
It was Barcelona, you're quite right. I think it was in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Yeah. And anyway, I surrendered.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
And I had, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
What did they, when you presented yourself at the British consulate, did they know what you were missing? Were you presumed dead?
Oh, they knew I was missing, and they knew where I was. There was a great camaraderie between the English intelligence groups and the Canadians, and no more so than any other Allied group. They were very, very close.
So they must have been excited and happy to see you when you showed up at the British consulate.
They were wonderful. And you'll be happy to know that it was a woman who was in control of all the activities of the underground in Spain.
And what did she say when you walked in?
She said, "It's delightful to see you. Would you like some tea?"
And I think she said, and we've been expecting you.
Yeah, she's.
So they knew that you were out and about somewhere.
That's right.
They knew it.
Yeah.
Because they heard through the French underground. It
Yeah.
That's very exciting stuff.
Well, they also had quite a wireless setup in Europe that most of us didn't know about. And if you were in Europe at the time, if you turned on your radio, you could hear these broadcasts. And they were all broadcasts of the underground. And as a matter of fact, it was quite dramatic. It began with a V, boom, 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 boom. That's a V for victory.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a good story. When you go on an airplane, or when you were last on an airplane, do you ever imagine what it would be like to pilot a 737? A big plane?
I was pretty endeared to the plane where you sat and you were in control. The idea of being a crew member was never attractive to me. I was brought up in the old days of flying, really, where, we flew biplanes. And we couldn't believe it when we were posted to this elementary school and saw the aircraft that the Canadians had. They all looked of the First War vintage. They had wings, 2 wings. They had wire going down, strengthening the struts and whatnot. But the monoplane, the low-wing monoplane, was the modern aircraft. And it was interesting.
When you finally came back, did you rejoin? I think Norm Levitt said something that you went back out again. You continued to fly.
Oh yeah, well I did. I was shot down on my 80th trip, and in those days, fighters aircraft and its pilots were not on any predetermined what we call it time. Like on bombers, you did some did 25 trips, some did 30 trips, some did 50 trips, depending on the type of bombers you were flying. Whereas in fighter command, it was usually left up to the CO of the squadron to determine when a person had had enough. And I learned that there are people and people, and everybody's different. And there is a time when you say to somebody, I think you've had enough.
Italy,
Italy, yeah.
the next round is in Italy.
It's the next round in Italy.
No. The next round you went out again, but you went to Italy.
I'm sorry, dear.
You went to Italy after.
Oh, yeah, well, I did 80 trips on my first tour. That was cut short by necessity. I was shot down.
That's right.
So
One would say it was cut short.
Yeah, and then after I came back, I wanted to get on a squadron, and I had a friend of mine, originally from Hamilton, who got me a posting to Italy. We only had one squadron in Italy, and he asked if I would like to go because they were short of experienced people. And I said, certainly I'll go to Italy. And I never regretted that day. I loved Italy. I thought it was a great place to be. And I spent another year in Italy.